Hey everybody, this is Mark Whitten. You know me as Rengoku in Demon Slayer, Raymond in Star Ocean the Divine Force, and Alex in Street Fighter. And you're listening to Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova Podcast.
All right, and aloha everyone. Welcome to another episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast for entertainment and more, the Kasanova Podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Faltea, aka Mekel Kasanova. Today, we are joined by a very, very, very special guest of the show. And it's kind of crazy. It's closing in on nearly 10 years since the first time you showed up on the show.
Wait, what? Really?
Yes. It's closing in on it. It's getting very close.
Oh my gosh.
It's so crazy. But anyways, we have the one, the only, the phenomenal and iconic Mark Whitten. Mark, how you doing today?
Hey, what's up? I'm doing fantastic. Thanks so much for having me back after 10 long years of being away. I'm alive and well. Yeah, geez, 10 years. I was thinking
man.
like 4 or 5, like 5, but I mean that's the last time I saw you. And then
Has it been that long? Oh
it's
yeah,
been
it
that long.
has.
Yeah, because
Wow.
we were out right before all the lockdowns happened.
Yeah,
This
that's
in.
true.
So shoot,
That's
10 years though before we started doing the thing. That's cool. Well, it's
that
good to be back.
it is. It's good to have you back on the show, man. Like, yeah, it's crazy. Like I feel like, and I don't know, maybe you feel this way too, but like with the whole pandemic and us having to do lockdown, like time is just way more apparent. Like it's like going faster and it's like, oh, let me look back and it hasn't been, oh, well crap, that was 5, 6, 7 years ago. Wow.
Yeah,
It doesn't
yeah.
feel that long ago. It feels like a whole lifetime ago before the lockdowns and everything.
Time's
Like,
done some funky stuff since then. Although it's weird. I was in my progressed age now, you kind of look back and you see these little pick points along the way of of world events that's like, ah
yeah.
yeah, that was this era. And then there was that era before it. And yeah, it's weird. It's weird to kind of consider that life seems somewhat foreign. I don't know, just because
Yeah.
it was interrupted in such a jarring fashion for I think all of us that it's like I don't know, this before and after could be analyzed psychologically, I think, for quite a bit of time to see what the effect has been. But is that for today? I don't know. What are we talking about today?
Today we're gonna be catching up, man, because like you said, it's been about 5, almost
Somewhere
it's
around there.
yeah,
It's getting up there.
roughly since the last time
It was the
got to see
beginning of
you in person.
2020. Yeah.
Man, yo, wow, that was 5 years ago almost.
Yep.
So yeah, so like catching up, seeing what's happening with you since then, and you've been on so many different projects, and dude, you got married.
I did.
That
Yes.
is awesome. So let's start with the good stuff, man. How was the wedding and the planning and everything like that? Like, how's
Oh,
it feel being married?
it was great. It feels fantastic being married. Honestly, when Kelly and I met, it was we were both like done with relationships fully,
Mhm.
and yet we met to work on my podcast, The Theater of Tomorrow. And we were dating like 3 days later after we met for a table read. It was very awkward because we were like, I had my good friend Veronica there with me, and we were like, we have to try to create this as like a safe space because we don't
Yeah.
want to. I was literally recording out of my closet, not out of this Studio Bricks booth, but like my legit like little rolling wall closet with some coats and like some of this red foam that I bought and like kind of just placed in
Yeah.
places to hopefully make my sound better. And I was like, "Oh, we're going to need to record in this space together, and I don't even know this girl. She doesn't know me. This is LA. We're coming out and just being like, "Hey, let's do a table read for this podcast." Um yeah, anyways, I think we we were we were able to bridge that gap. Our good friend of ours, Krista, was able to lend us her Studio Bricks booth, so we didn't have to crowd into my dingy closet. Anyways, this is besides the point of the marriage. That brought us together like this, and we've been together for 9 years, and it is felt yeah, it was just it was great right from the start. It was kind of like inevitable in a way that we were
Mhm.
gonna get married. In fact, I joke a lot of times, I'm like, "Oh, we really got married when, we put our phone bills together," which was
Yeah.
a few years ago. I was like, "That's it.
Yeah.
We're on the same freaking phone plan." Um, but yeah, it was a matter of time, interrupted by COVID. Thank you, COVID. Where we were like, "Let's get married," or, thinking about it, but then
Yeah.
that happened, and we were like, "Well, I'm sure this can wait till we see whatever happens with this." And it did, and then, after my family kicked my butt a little bit, I was like, all right, we'll get this going." Um, I proposed to her at the Huntington, Botanical Gardens, which is a place, near where we live, where we love to go,
Nice.
and chill, and it's a really beautiful space.
Was that place we hung out at a little bit when you
N
did the show at the
We
theater?
were at
The
Expo
museum?
Park, weren't we?
Oh, yeah, 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 never mind,
Yeah,
yeah, we were there,
Expo was
never mind.
over by the Natural History Museum,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's a beautiful garden too. Man,
yeah.
the roses there, and the gigantic trees, and then the History Museum and the Science Center are all there. Yeah, that's a beautiful place too. But no, this is a botanical garden out Pasadena way, actually.
Oh,
So
okay, okay, okay.
yeah, it's
Okay,
really
okay,
nice. You should check it out. Next
okay.
time you're out here, we'll go to the Huntington.
It should be
Um,
in 2 months, actually.
oh shoot! All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was we proposed there, and then we gave ourselves like a good year, almost year and a half to plan.
Mhm,
Um, and all of our meticulous planning, getting our lists ready and our all the little bits and bobs. It was nice to kind of like come together. We do it anyways. We walk into stores and we're like, which one of these pots do you like? And they're like, I like that one for this reason. Like, and we have just a ball, taking the piss out of things that we don't like,
mhm.
and joining our heads together over things that we do. Um, so it was actually a really nice process planning. When I've heard that it could be tumultuous for some folks, but despite all of our best intentions, it rained like hell on the day. The
What?
historic atmospheric river trudged right through California. Yeah,
Oh.
and we had just tons of rain. A few of our guests couldn't make it because they were, oh gosh, did I just go away?
No, 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 you sit here.
My screensaver came on. It freaked me out where I was like, I left. Um, so yeah, there was this historic atmospheric river where they're like, if you value, if you stay safe, if you value your life, stay at home. And so
Mhm.
obviously we weren't too we weren't holding it against anyone to be like, "Oh, make it to our wedding, please." Where we're
Yeah.
like, "Please stay safe." But the folks that were able to get there kind of a day ahead of the atmospheric river, we had a great time, and yeah, we got a little wet, but it was fun, and it was all the more memorable for it, and it was a beautiful ceremony, beautiful night. So yeah, married life has been
Awesome.
good.
Awesome, awesome, yeah. And man, again, congratulations to you too. Yeah, like, okay, so for the audience, look, those two together, it's like a Disney movie. Like you two are so cute together. Like when you guys are staying with us, I was like, man, that's a perfect couple. Like that's just aspirational goals right there. Like, cause
Uh,
like you see a lot of people where it's like they don't fully get along or just vibe together that well, but like you two just you're like that, and I
yeah.
love it. I love seeing my friends happy, man. Like,
Yeah.
so,
I feel real lucky. I honestly I didn't think any of this was possible, but we're also both very particular people, so it's weird that we like somehow like found each other and smashed into each other, collided. It's
yeah.
funny because our paths could have crossed a number of times before in
Oh,
LA. She was
wow.
supposed to come to see a show that I was in
Hmm.
a couple of years before we met,
Hmm.
'cause she was living with one of the guys in the show,
Hmm.
um, and she was supposed to come see this performance, and, like, a number of times where our paths could have crossed out here, and I think it's I don't know what to call it. I'm not really a terribly religious, person, but I don't know,
Me either.
fate happened, whatever it will be, destiny, yada, yada.
Your
Um,
frequencies aligned. It could be
yeah.
that,
I
law,
don't try to explain things too much because
yeah.
it ruins it, so I'm just like, it was a vibe.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, man, very happy for the two of you,
Thanks.
you know, um, I gotta ask, are you guys getting a house, or how's that
We're
whole
thinking
process
about
been?
it. We're definitely thinking about it. We've
Okay.
we've been doing a little bit of hunting right now. But as you know, the housing market in California is a little hairy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's we have a little wish list that we're looking into, but I don't know. We'll see how it all pans out. We do like looking at houses. Again, it's the same thing where we look at a thing and we're like, this is like a pit. No one could live here possibly. And then we're like drooling over things. And then you ever go like we do this a lot. We'll go onto Zillow or whatever, Redfin, like, look at stuff that we're like, "Okay, this is within our budget. Okay, we'll look at this." And then we'll be like, "Well, slide over here to this, like, thing that is out of our budget by a thousandfold." You look at those, like, $160 million ridiculous mansions just to and then, unfortunately, the rest of the night is just like, "Oh god. I'm never gonna live there, and neither are 99% of us. Can't we just make that a public space for all of us to go to?" But we love looking at those places. We'll watch YouTube videos of, like, very, very rich house walkthroughs and, like house porn, right? Is
Yeah.
that what that's it, yeah? That's what we do. I can
No,
say that, right?
yeah, no, it's fine, bro. We have no filter on this show. Like, yeah, looking at houses is a lot of fun. I know we've been looking since we sold off the house and we got into this condo. We literally took over for her parents. Her parents owned the condo and signed it over to us.
Mm.
And we were like, okay, so Zale's getting bigger. We don't know if we're going to expand our family again.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're looking at, okay, so what are we going to do? And then we started looking at the market. Market's trash right now. It is trash. But we both have homesteads. So we're looking at getting a plot of land and just building a house right there.
Oh,
And
cool.
I'm over here like, okay, so we build a house. I want a room to record in, content in. I want to have a room for guests because I'm like, man, when you guys come out here, you and Kelly and all the other friends, I'm like, I want you guys to not like have a place to stay
Yeah.
because it's like the hotels out here, majority of them are on strike right now, but like the rates have just skyrocketed, and it's just ridiculous. From the last time you were out here, it's just shot up through the roof, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
my friends come out here,
The
no, you're
rates at
not.
hotels, you mean? Like, just they've
Yeah.
any reason behind that?
When the amount of price gouging due to COVID has been ridiculous. and
Everyone
and
had, like, that expendable income, and so you gouge a little bit because
yeah,
people are itching to get out, but now we're all coming off of
yeah,
that forced savings high,
yeah.
and no one well,
It
I mean,
is.
I guess it will correct itself if no one shows up,
It has to. It has.
and besides, tourism sometimes, I mean, there's been a lot of debate over tourism, especially in Europe,
Yeah,
that's been like, "Hey, some over tourism is very, very bad. We should be
yeah,
potentially more mindful about how we tour, when we tour."
yeah,
I mean, that's certainly something worth considering for people who live in popular destinations as Hawaii certainly is for many folks because it's freaking gorgeous and people are very lucky to have that as their home.
yeah.
And but it's also very attractive for people to be like, "Oh, I want to just come there and spend some time." But it's like, well, maybe we need to also balance what that means.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, we were traveling in Barcelona for, we went to Europe because Kelly had never been for our honeymoon,
Nice.
and she's Italian, she had always wanted
Mhm,
to go to Italy, and so we included a little bit of the South Coast, we were able to get a little bit of a trip going around there, and they've had a lot of things where they're like, "Please, tourists, go home," and a lot of
mhm,
these places get flooded, and I don't know, I mean, I'm sure there's a huge debate around it,
mhm.
I I I mean, I can see their side of it for sure, because some of the places are just thronged with people,
Mhm.
and and it can I'm sure it can be exhausting for the people that live there. But at the same place, you balance that with like, hey, you're gonna go to uh France and visit Paris, and it's like to purposefully be like, I am not going to see the Eiffel Tower, but it's like, I mean, it's a monument for
Yeah,
a reason, I guess, you know. So there's, but also I guess it's not just showing up at a place. It's
yeah,
also like how we conduct ourselves once we are there, right?
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Checking on my cats, seeing if they're not gonna. They like to chew on cords, so if I black if my screen
N-
blacks out again, it's because the cats disconnected me.
no, dude, my two cats are like that too, so don't even worry about
I don't
it.
see them. There's no flood. Anyways, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Other thing I wanna ask you, because I heard from a mutual person we know, Lehua, that you're very similar to me, where like when it comes to like equipment or chairs or anything, you hold on to it until they don't work anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely do. I hold on to many things. I I have to be I have to be convinced it's fully been used,
Yeah.
you know, and to, like, really have some merits to procuring you're talking about my office chair. Yes, yeah, that thing has been and it served its purpose, and man, we got some mileage out of that thing. But it was like I mean, for the past not just for the past, like, couple of weeks or something, but for the past years, plural, I don't
Mhm.
even know how many years. Every time I sit up, no matter how much stuff comes off of it, there's
Yeah.
still more coming off of it that is on me. I don't know. It's probably, like, also pulverized into a fine dust that I've breathed in more of my office
Yeah.
chair than I should have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hung on to that for a good long time, and then Secret Lab was finally like, I actually saw that Abby Trott, she did a video about the Nezuko chair, and I was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
I wanna buy one of those chairs from Secret Lab." And, I'm a goof at the internet
Mhm.
if you don't already know or that anyone else doesn't already know, and I never check any of my messages. And so I was like, I'll follow Secret Lab and ask them if they have a Rengoku chair that I can buy, in this. And then I was like, "Oh, they already messaged me back." And I was like, "Oh, they messaged me, like, 3 months ago to ask if they could do a collab." And I was like, "Oh, I should probably check my messages more often." So I reached out to them and they were kind enough to hook something up, which was was really, uh, really cool. I've never had a chair that like that chair is like a freaking Cadillac. I don't know. I don't know what to do with it. Um, I I'm used to my Staples office chair, uh, which is great. Hey, I gotta tell you though, I'm a proponent of if you find something comfortable, man, like and again, like, use that crap, like, use the chair till it
Yeah.
is wear that shirt until it is disintegrating off of your body or a friend comes in and has an intervention to say, you can afford another shirt."
No, like when it was brought up to me, after you guys did your podcast,
Yeah.
she's like, you're the same way. You know how long it took
Are do
for you to. Yes.
so wait,
Yeah.
well, yeah, what do you hold on to in life? I mean, just
So clothes, like I just recently got this chair. Well, you probably can't see it. I'll send a
okay.
picture
I
to
mean,
you
I can
later.
see bits of it, so, I know it's there.
Yeah, so like like getting this chair, I'd held on to one. I held on to the one I had before. I don't even know. It's probably over 7 years, but it
Yeah.
was just it's there. Like the and I don't know if it's just like frugality or whatever it is, but like I really feel like get the most mileage out of what you have because and this is could also be I don't know from a marketing perspective or just being in the content creator space and the whole you got to promote this, you got to hype this, like the FOMO stuff that gets pushed out there and having people feel like you know oh yeah, you got to fully give into consumerism. You always got to upgrade to the latest phone or latest this or get this and get that. And a lot of times it's like, do you need it? It's what you got. It still works, right? I mean, although I was
Yeah,
in the same
yeah.
boat as you, where I'm like, oh, you know,
Yeah,
like,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, I think there's definitely a balance. There's an excitement to getting the new thing. I mean, it's like retail therapy is super real, right?
yeah,
Like, I've gone out and bought things and been like, "Ah, yeah, that takes, like, a load off of my life. I just got a new book or a new, if I need some new headphones or something like
yeah,
that," and it's, like, lifts the mood a little bit, but, yeah, I don't know. I'm with you though that maybe it gets out of hand, it gets pushed in the name of like in the name of profits, but also like what are you going to sell an aspiring business that's
yeah,
starting up that's like we got this new product that we're trying to launch and it's like well you need to advertise, you kind of need to
yeah.
hype it up. So there's like as with all things in life, I'm the consummate like middle ground person. I like identifying point A, point Z, and then everything in between. But yeah, I think for me too, a lot of it is like this is I had a belt that
Mhm.
I had for probably like 20 plus years. And it
Wow.
was yeah, a leather belt, and I did not wanna, like I wore it all the time too, it's not like I didn't even wear it. I had a belt and a pair of shoes that I wore for, like, 15, 20 years, and I love them so much. I love a good quality thing. When
Hmm.
you can buy something and it does last that long, I think that's awesome, like, promoting that, I guess unfortunately, consumerism, if we all just bought like super quality things and bought way less of them,
Yeah,
maybe our whole economy would come grinding to a halt.
yeah,
But but I don't know. Maybe we can find different ways around that for anyone who's in like a political space as well. Who knows? Float
yeah.
some ideas, people.
There
Maybe
we
we
go.
don't need to be pushing the constant consumerism in order to keep ourselves afloat. Um, but yeah, anyway, those things I also didn't want to like. I don't know. I liked having there. I like get sentimental about objects. Do you do that?
Yeah. Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Very
I
much
find it
so.
hard, like when I have something like a T-shirt. I feel bad about throwing the T-shirt away because I feel like I don't know. I've got a lot of neuroses about it. One, I think it's all things from like my nostalgia with the shirt itself all the way to the whole thing of where I'm like, "Oh, the shirt's gonna feel bad." And I'm like, "The shirt doesn't feel anything, Mark. It's a shirt." Right?
No, I
You know what I'm
laugh
talking
because
about. That's why
I know.
you laugh because you know what
Yes.
I'm talking about. I that's that's the reaction of someone who's like, "Oh god, my shirts hate me."
And I literally just went and bagged up like 2 bags worth of clothes, and
Yeah.
yep, nope, donate it, nope, no, no, but this shirt,
It's
but
like
these pants.
telltale heart, man. You put them in that bag, but you can hear them. You go
Yes.
to bed at night when you haven't taken that bag to the Goodwill yet, you can hear those shirts. They're there. They're there.
Woo. Yeah, yes, yes.
I'm just saying.
That's so true. Okay, I bet no one watching this or listening to this podcast is going to be like, wait, wait, this is not a topic I expected them to
I
talk
know.
on.
They're like, "Doesn't that dude voice act?
Oh
Isn't he like an actor?
yeah.
Doesn't he do video games? What the hell is this about his wardrobe? What
And
is this,
see, this is the beauty of organic conversations. You get to see different sides of your favorite celebrities. Because
We're neurotic too.
yes. so so um I'm still stuck on that neurosis. Anyways, okay, I'll move on.
I got more, but we should move on so that we
Okay,
don't lose anyone if we haven't
I
already.
know. So I guess we can touch on voice acting.
Yeah,
And I know
sure.
you probably get asked these and I try to avoid, when I have voice actor and celebrity guests, like I try to avoid the common questions because I feel like you can find those answers anywhere. But I
Yeah.
will ask a few just because gotta
Hey,
make.
sometimes it's good. You can hear a thing 10 different times and it can be different 10 different times. You know, even the same thing. Sometimes
That's
it
true.
hits you different. Sometimes
That's
you
true.
have to hear it 10 times before it hits you, you know?
That's true. So okay, so what has it been like? So
Mm,
the first time, nearly 10 years ago, I'm still wrapping my head around that.
yeah.
The first time I had you on the show and we first met, you were Alex in
Mhm.
Street Fighter 5.
Yeah.
And since then, you've done so much stuff. Like, dude, you just blew up. Like, just and it's crazy. I mean, Sethith in Fire Emblem Three Houses, Raymond in Star Ocean, the Divine Force, Rengoku and Demon Slayer. Dude, what has that trajectory and journey been like for you?
It's been crazy, and, or rather, I've felt really lucky, about it all. I mean, I've been pursuing this for longer than those 10 years too. I've been pursuing acting. I got into acting when I was a kid, so I've always kinda liked this and been, like, tilting at it, even if I'm, like, working at gosh, I worked at, like, a Starbucks for a while, I worked as a barback for a while.
Hmm.
I worked at the Natural History Museum up until, like, middle of COVID, just still doing other jobs just because I always like to be busy and working. I found my
Hmm.
way working in theme parks. I was always doing entertaining, but to see it, like, always with that hope of it, like, gaining traction and going somewhere, and then when I started having things like when we met and I was like, "I'm Alex in Street Fighter," it started to feel it felt a little different. All of those little roles here and there
Hmm.
where I was like, "Yeah, but I played Street Fighter." It's like, I'm not just doing a production of Guys and Dolls somewhere, which is not to say anything bad about doing a production of Guys and Dolls. I love live theater. I love
Hmm.
musicals. Like, that stuff is great. And I think performing live for a community is magnifique. It's like it's a fantastic thing. Um, it hit me a little different when I was doing something like Street Fighter, though. I don't know. I think it was something I wonder if it hit me different because it's almost like maybe I never really believed that it was possible. Like, there was always that
Hmm.
barrier of like, "Oh, that's what, like movies and video games, that's what like like a different sort of person does."
Hmm.
I don't I want to do that, but it always seems like this dream.
Hmm.
But I guess that could be anything. I guess when it started to happen though, I was really excited by it, and even then with doing the parts, I wasn't ready for, like, the response to a part like Rengoku. I wasn't ready for the fan response to a part like Rengoku.
Hmm.
Um, and having that be that meaningful, which has been really cool to, like, go to conventions and hear folks talk about, that, get that feedback. I mean, that's been a whole unique thing. And, they have us at conventions and they're like, "We have celebrity guests," and I'm like, I'm Mark. I don't know if celebrity is a word that applies, but I mean,
It
I
is.
get
You
it.
are.
I get it, but, like, I mean, I've been doing this, um, for so long, and, like, I think I feel in many ways like, the way my parents, some of their friends, like, my family members where they're like, "People are lining up to see you? Why?" And they're like and not like to be mean, but to kinda be like, "Oh, we just know you as you're just a guy." I mean, they're super happy for me,
Yeah.
but it's one of those things where it's odd.
Yeah.
And I do like one of the things I like to try and I try to keep in mind when I'm meeting people is that, when I said, like, I feel lucky, that's what I try to, like, kinda keep in mind is that, like, yes, I've worked hard at this. Yes, I've trained. Yes, I've put in hours and, yeah, it goes up and down. I have good times, I have dry times. I've had a really good run, especially in the past few years where I've been lucky enough to do this full time and not have to do other jobs on the side, not feel like I have to do that.
Mhm.
Um, but I always try to like remind myself that I'm like I'm maybe I have talent. I feel like I have talent, but I'm also lucky, very
Mhm.
lucky. And call that what you will. You know, a lot of people say like, ah, it's all God, you know, or they say it's all they attribute it to religion, they attribute it to providence, whatever it is.
Yeah.
There is something that's inexplicable. I mean, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I've auditioned for that I got that I know there's a line of other people who are also very good and didn't get it.
Mhm.
And maybe some of them are still struggling to get parts and get seen, and they deserve to be
Mhm.
seen. And there's a lot of stuff that I've auditioned for that I haven't gotten for whatever reason. So there's some like cosmic inexplicability to it that I just kind of condensed down to like I feel lucky. I'm on this ride. I'm just gonna try to keep smiling and be aware and just make sure I show up on time, do my best, be grateful for what I got, you know, like,
Yeah.
um, and never lose sight of like try as much as we can to never lose sight of like where we came from and that we all are kind of experiencing a very similar world.
Yeah.
It's just some of us luck out too. You
Yeah.
know, in it, that there's something beyond us that factors into it, and
Yeah.
I put as much of my attention as I can into this,
Yeah.
but it's not just me,
Yeah.
you know? And that goes with anything, like, sorry, I'm, like, getting way off topic here, man.
No, dude, just keep going. No, I'm vibing with it. Keep
You
going.
know, I'm gonna bring this up because you saw her recently. It's one thing I was listening to an interview with Jennifer Hale, and I
Mhm.
really like that that she said this is, she was talking about video games. I might have mentioned this before as well, but I'll bring it up again because it's warrants mentioning. And she's like, "We're as an actor, I'm like the ink at the tip of the pen."
Mhm.
And that's all to say is, like, there's a whole other apparatus, not just to say with the luck of booking the job to begin with, but the fact that I don't exist my job doesn't exist without so many other talented people along the way.
Mhm.
You know, this is all a human community, working towards a thing, a creative community.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's another thing that I like to try and keep in mind to keep my place in it? I don't
Mhm.
know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I fully get it. And I've had this conversation with a couple other voice actors and folks I know that I met around roughly the same time I met you.
Mm,
Like I'll bring one up, Griffin Burns. Like I
yeah.
recently did a podcast with him, and we were talking about it, and I was like, dude, when we first met, you had just did one main character role for, I think it was Shining Resonance Refrain, and I'm like, now from Demon Slayer, Genshin Impact, all this other stuff, and
Mhm.
he's like, man, I got so lucky. And he's like,
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared for, like, he said, because you do the projects, you don't really know what's gonna like blow up and take off. And
Mhm.
he's like, it just, when it hits, and you be appreciative, you keep working hard, and
Yeah.
you just enjoy the ride for however long it is.
Totally, totally.
So
I try to tell people starting out too that it's like, not only is it luck, and it's just kinda cool that he has, like, that same sort of viewpoint on it. It's also, like, luck also hits you at different times. So,
yes.
like, I've had
Yes.
when I was doing musical theater, I think I popped out of school, and I had friends who were booking Broadway shows immediately, even before they were graduated. And then I
Wow.
know people who were working for years, decades to try and get credits. And it's not that they I think that we can look at some of these things and say, "Ah, those people just aren't talented." And
Mhm.
maybe there's some merit there, but I don't know because I know a lot of freaking talented people that they were just second instead of first.
Yeah.
And you go and there's like unfortunately in the numbers game, there's persistence has to play into it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so your luck, if you're pursuing this right now, I mean, if you're someone who's seriously pursuing something like voice acting right now, or acting in general, or, freaking anything in life, your opportunities will hit when they do. And
Yes.
and you don't look at someone else's you try your best to not look at someone else's trajectory. You can look at it, but don't look at it with the frame of mind as to say, "Oh, because they did, I have to, and if I didn't, I'm worse."
Yeah.
Like, that's just BS. That's just not how the
Yeah.
world works. And that's something that we frequently forget. I forget about it all the freaking time. Like like, we're not immune to this stuff, Like, I've got a lot of projects where I'm like, if I just this," and I'm like, "It's okay, Mark. It just wasn't for you, and look at all the stuff that you do have." The problem with some of that mentality is that it can take your of course, I wanna do more and more and more, but
Mhm.
sometimes that mentality can take our eyes off of the really cool things that we do get to do. And
Yeah.
and I just gotta say, like, I mean, looking back, I've just been I can't be anything but happy with, like, the things I've been able to be involved with, and I just knock on booth that more of it is to come,
Yeah.
and I'll see. I'll keep putting myself out there, so
Well, I mean, it's also similar. Um, you know, what you just said is very similar to how it is, like even in the content creator space.
Mm.
And we were kind of talking about this before we started recording. Should I feel bad. I should record it, but anyways,
We
but
talked
like
about so many things. It was
we
like an hour.
did. We
Was an
did.
hour.
Yeah. So like, it's the same in the content creator space because like a lot of it is you're looking and seeing, okay, this person, oh, they started same time as me. They started after me.
Mhm.
Oh, they're at 100,000, they're at 50,000, they're at a million. And oh, they're working with this company, they're working with this brand. They got all these thousands of views. And it's like you can get so lost in the weeds and the thick of it
Yeah.
and can
Yeah.
forget that, hey, we may be in the same spectrum or field or genre, but our journeys and our starting points and where we end up is not the same. Like I've been doing content creating on YouTube for 12 years. Wow. Yeah. And only within this year I hit 50,000. Only in
Yeah.
this year my channel has been taken off and other opportunities have come. And there were many times where I was like, I was gonna quit. And other creators like, oh, you just don't have it, you're not that good. And I would get into that mindset. And like I was telling you earlier before we recorded, like cutting out a lot of negativity because what you focus on expands. If you're focusing on what you don't have because somebody else has,
Mm.
makes you get tunnel vision and you don't see, hey, if I just turn around and look, oh, I got to do this. I got to
Huh.
do this. I'm getting to do this. I'm going to do this as a full-time career. How many people can say they can do that? You have to have, in essence, and this is something I've really had to learn over the last 2 years, especially going back through cancer, gratitude. Gratitude is so essential. You have to have some gratitude for what you have, what you've been able to do, what you're doing, and what you possibly could do down the road. And it's easy to forget that.
Yeah.
Especially social media does not help. It does not help.
It
Uh,
depends. Yeah, you gotta have, you definitely have to have, a filter of
a
your
filter,
own,
yes.
to filter through it, or a mindset because, like you said, when you said, like, what you focus on expands, if you go to social media and you're focusing on one thing, you're gonna just expand more of that, and it's
Mhm.
gonna be rapid
Yeah,
because whatever you're focusing on, you can look at a couple of pictures, and you can pick out the details that speak to whatever gripe maybe that you have.
yeah,
But if you've got a different frame of reference, if you've got a different viewpoint and you go on, maybe you're able to focus on things that other people aren't,
yeah,
and that you can go on and weather that and filter out the stuff that may draw your attention away and really focus on the stuff that's gonna serve serve you in whatever your endeavors are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So one of the other questions
Mm.
I gotta ask this to ask you on the show. Um, when you got to do Raymond for Star Ocean, the Divine Force, how did it feel being the main character?
It felt really cool, man. I haven't had a chance to play a ton of main characters, especially not in like uh, a a a video game of that size.
Hmm.
And the thing that was one of the things that's really cool about it is when you dip into a game, even with something like, let's take Fire Emblem for example, Seth.
Hmm.
He's a character that has an amount of prominence, and he takes on more of a role in one of the paths, but his involvement is fragmented. With Raymond, he's involved in the entire freaking story, and I was able to experience that game in a way that I've not really been able to experience many others,
Hmm.
because my character touched so many different parts of it. Um, something that's it depends on projects. What's some projects you have more access to it. Some projects, depending on their workflow, they're
Hmm.
more under lock and key about the information. So there are certain projects that I have more access to the story for.
Hmm.
Spider-Man 2 was one where Dr. Connors is not necessarily a huge role of it, but he's an important role of it. But I did have more of a concept of the story of Spider-Man 2 simply because of how the team works. We
Hmm.
were able to, it's a very personal experience at Insomniac, and they involved a lot of people in parts of the story that maybe our characters didn't get involved in, so that we have an awareness of the world and an awareness of what's going on. So it varies in degrees, but certainly something like Star Ocean, when you're playing the main character, well, you have a main character's frame of reference,
Yeah.
and it's cool because you can really you can carry so much of that through into the performance as the performance goes along.
Hmm.
And we spent so much time with it. It was great. I really got to like live with Raymond as a character longer than I had most of the characters that I play. And I think it's cool to do that sort of thing. You don't always get to spend as much time with your
Hmm.
character either because it's so quick.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, I was really really happy to be doing that as well. It was a fun project to work on.
That was I've been a Star Ocean fan s- technically since the 95 Japanese release.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because I was one of my brothers, he speaks and he can translate Japanese. So like when we got it, which I don't think it was until like the mid 2000s that it actually got re-released, but we played the
Yeah.
original and he was just translating everything. I was like, man, this series is so good. So it's like when I first saw the trailers for it, I was hearing the character, I was like, that's is that Mark? And I know like
Yeah.
just because I know I can't ask you guys like, oh, is that
Yeah.
you? Because I understand that, but I was like, that sounds so much like Mark. Even like when you were in SMT5, I was like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, a lot of characters when it sounds like you get to know our performances and, yeah, it's you can kinda pick us out.
you,
I do that with some of my friends all the time in trailers that come up, I'm like, "That sounds like I
and they're
bet
like,
that person's in." Yeah, and sure enough, when it gets going. One of my favorites was Chris Hackney in Zelda,
yeah,
in Tears of the Kingdom. I started hearing it and I was like, "Oh, that's Chris Hackney, isn't it?" And if you know how big a fan of Zelda Hackney is,
he's huge.
yeah, when I started playing, because I or started listening to it, I was like, "Oh, I don't know. Is that him? Is that him?" And I was like, "It's gotta be." I just had this feeling because I didn't even know, but when I first heard Rauru, I was like, "Oh my god." I felt so and I immediately was going to, like, check, and I was like, "Yes, it's Chris." Felt so good for him, man. That's a special one.
winding down because I want to be respectful, fully and completely respectful of your time.
Oh yeah.
What you sure? Oh,
Oh yeah, sure.
okay. So one of the questions I want to ask, like, when it comes to going to conventions, you've been doing a lot of traveling over the last couple of years,
I have been.
bro. How do you deal with jet lag, the fatigue, the time zone differences, and
uh
still, because, like, look, if anyone's ever met Mark in person, he has a lot of energy. How do you maintain that?
well, Bryce Papenbrook is my mentor. No, seriously, I do look up to Bryce, and Bryce is pure energy,
I get to
and
see
so
him in next in November. He's going to
oh
be out
sweet,
here.
he's
Him and
great.
Abby.
He's fantastic, and Abby's fantastic too. Yeah, Bryce is go go go. So like, first off, like take your inspirations. Personally, if you're talking about jet lag, travel, my body doesn't always handle it terribly well. Uh, so I try to make sure for my own vocal health to like book out enough time around so that when I get back, I have enough time to work,
Hmm.
enough time to work at 100% instead of working at like 70 or 60. If I've
Hmm.
been talking all week, and then learning how to control that because I get really excited and I like to talk a lot, as you can imagine. So I probably talk myself stupid at a lot of these cons. Um, and then I just have the worst luck traveling. Man, I've got like I'm looking at like a 50-50 record for like cancellations probably. Like I'm delayed 70% of the time at
Oh
least.
wow.
Oh yeah, my flight record is trash. Maybe not 50-50 for cancellations, but I'm like always it's not uncommon. If I go to an airport, I'm like, okay, well, this will probably be delayed 2 to 3 hours at least,
Hmm.
if not outright canceled. Yeah. So I'm
Wow.
like, and it's I've just had terrible luck. And I tell people, I ask other people, I'm like, "Do you get delayed a lot?" And they're like, "No, not really." I'm like, "Am I the only one? Do the airlines hate me?" So yeah, um, but I've found little ways to I've kind of like streamlined streamlined the traveling process a little bit so that I can take some time to like relax. I
Hmm.
have like a stock. I like make sure I bring cough drops and tea. I make sure that I like take some time to decompress and not speak.
Hmm.
A lot of things like that. They're little preparations um that I make along the way to try and like make it all smoother. But we'll see. If you can tell the airlines to run the flights on time, thank you very much.
I know, right? Man, we got to get you out here to some of the conventions that we're having here. So I think I may have told you this a couple months ago, but I'm trying to work with the conventions here, and well, this is not appealing too much of the curve. Anyway, look, Hawaii conventions. I'm trying to help you guys.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this is not me trying to be arrogant or anything. I know a lot of these voice actors. Well, a lot of y'all who are struggling to get in touch with them, I can talk to them, get their agent information,
Right
and get
here.
that to
We can
you.
yeah.
I can
We can
get that to you. Okay, so
tell
this
them
is
that they can write in questions to the Casanova podcast and we can answer them. Have a back and
right.
forth.
Dude, I've even okay. So the last one we had out here, Comic Con Honolulu. So
Mhm.
it was interesting how they went about going about the whole thing, and this is not me bashing it. It's just I think it's very interesting when you have people like Jennifer Hale, Troy Baker, Avatar Cast, and a lot of these other people, but you center your marketing around influencers,
Yeah.
and you put more promotion on them than your guests. That's a little
Well,
and so
I mean, maybe they're following the numbers, the feedback. I mean, I'm assuming that this is not a decision made in a vacuum, right? Like
right.
it's made somehow. It would be interesting to see how the data plays out for them and maybe to try a different approach next time and do a comparison.
Right.
It's got to be hard to know how exactly to promote and to your audience,
Yeah.
you know, what is going to attract. And I don't want to like necessarily I don't want to downplay influencers at all because it's in the word influencer.
Right.
It's there for a reason. And so they probably have crowds that could bring people as well. And maybe they don't necessarily see it as much with the guests. That's a possibility. I don't know. Um,
I-
but I've always it's got to be tricky. Actually, I don't know if I have anything more to say because I don't know how to run a freaking con.
No, so the thing is, like, when at the convention, like, I was trying to find the people who reach out because
Mm,
the thing I was just really confused with when I was talking to some of my guests was like, yeah, they're not promoting we're here, like they're not really saying anything, and I guess reaching out was kind of a last minute thing as well. And my thing is like, and I've tried to, and a lot of the pushback I've gotten from some of the conventions here is like, oh, well, you only have 5,000 followers on Instagram. You only have this on 2,000 on. And I'm like, that I'm showing you I'm connected to these people. If you're struggling to get guests, there are
right,
a
right.
lot of people who would love to come here.
Yeah,
I can connect you.
absolutely.
I'm like, I'm not asking for anything. I want to help you because if this does better, everything goes
Right.
like it works full circle.
Totally,
And it's
totally. You wanna help be the bridge the gap there. I mean, in a
right.
way, like, I was gonna also suggest that, like, for anyone who's running a convention out there, talking to booking agents.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never been on the business end of one of those phone calls, but I know from talking to my own booking agent, at Epic Talent that, they're mindful of how to not only pitch and represent their talent, but also how to represent what it means to have that event be successful with not just one talent, but perhaps collections of talent. They don't just represent one person, they
Hmm.
represent lots of people. And as they are representing people for appearances on a regular basis, they're they're pretty in touch. The booking agents are pretty in touch with what's going on right now in entertainment. I mean, it's
Yeah.
their job.
Yeah.
So knowing like here are the people on my roster, here's who they pair well with. What's your event's flavor? Like they're collaborators in that
Yeah.
regard. And I think that maybe that gets overlooked and they think, "Oh, well, I just got to call the booking agent to get one person and now I'm cutting deals." As opposed to I'm adding value to my event and sculpting it and giving it character, which a booking agent can help you bring in a bigger way. You don't have to work with just one. I mean, I don't wanna talk about because I don't know whether they maybe there's exclusivity, but, like, it can be from what I see at very successful events, is they seem to be very purposeful in their selections and their marketing and things like that, and I think that I just again, I don't think that that's solely birthed in the mind of whoever's been tasked with like, "Hey, get us some guests on the roster." I think it's gotta be part and parcel, like, you're working with a whole other industry here, and it is a collaboration,
Yeah.
you know? So, yeah.
And it needs to be better than just, oh, if you want to guest here, fill out this form, and if people out here say we want this guest, then I'm like,
Mm.
hmm. This is a business background and marketing background of me. It's like we could do so much better.
There you
Let
go.
me help you, but you can't help people that don't want to help themselves. So hey, if conventions out here in Hawaii, I can help you guys.
Business marketing, for sure, for real.
Just let me help you. Look, and if you need
It's my
someone to
boy.
do a panel, I can I can
Yeah.
do that.
Again, other things that like it's all about trying to bring value and making the event because when we go to events, you want them to be like exciting. You want them to have things, obviously to have the logistics
Mhm.
organized so that the event is smooth, but also to have the content be there and the things for people to do. And I think it's I think that as more events take place, you're
Mhm.
gonna see people who are doing it very well.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe even like expanding on it and maybe reinventing it, maybe adding, there's room for innovation there too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be exciting to get out to Hawaii sometime. I've yet to be out there for a con yet, so it'd be fun to come back and spend some time with all
It
the
is
fans
my
out
mission.
there.
It is my mission to make this happen.
That'd be awesome.
I am hell bent on making this happen,
I'm
bro.
all for it. I'm all for it. And
Because like even Richard Epcar, he's like, Mekel, he's like, can you get somebody to and I'm like, you're Richard Epcar. Are you serious? Like that? He's like, nothing. I'm like,
well, I mean, a lot of I think that's where it comes down to people who are attending the cons or who are interacting with the cons. That audience
yeah.
has a lot of effect too. That's why we always say, like, yes, my agent will reach out. I can reach out, but it speaks volumes if the people in the area who are going to be attending the con, who have all attended the con in the
Hmm.
past, reach out and say, "Hey, I'd really like to see more of this."
Yeah.
When that feedback is heard, and I know this comes from a person who's like, I never want to leave feedback, even though I have it, because I'm always like, well, I don't know why I get trepidatious about it sometimes, but it matters.
Yeah.
It matters. Your opinion matters
Yeah.
because what like you said, what's going to be not to bring this full circle, but what the focus is going to be, then it's going to manifest. If the
Yeah.
focus is 100 people emailing them saying that I want, uh, I don't know, I want Mr. X and Miss Y to come to this convention, and no one else shows up with any other opinions, well, X and Y are probably going to show up
Yeah.
because they don't have anything else to go on.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
it it matters to lend your voice and lend that support there.
Yeah.
Yeah, to kind of
Yeah.
be part of it. And I think it really does rely especially on the people who have attended before, because those are the people who will hopefully attend again
Yeah.
and make that, the event is its own community.
All right. So two final questions. They'll
Yeah,
be very, very rapid fire
let's
quick.
hit it.
So this one question is kind of two questions in one, but this is asked by
Unbelievable,
uh
unacceptable.
dude. I literally like when I put out that thing, I literally got like thousands of questions and
Are you
trying to
serious?
yes. And then trying like between that and TikTok
Oh
and
my gosh, we should have done like a little rapid fire episode or something, right? Just like try to do.
oh
I talk a lot.
we could we well hey
I'm just saying.
we can still do it. We can still
Bonus.
do that
Bonus
in the
sometime.
future. Yeah. So this is a 2-in-1 question. They asked where you are in Street Fighter 6. Love Mark as Alex. Been waiting to hear him say you can't escape. And how did it feel doing the Demon Slayer Mugen Train movie? I know
The
that's
movie.
two
Okay.
questions in
2
one.
questions in 1. Where am I in Street Fighter 6? I hope I'm coming soon, man. I don't know. I can't wait. Like, apparently I can escape getting put into a DLC right now. But no, I'm hoping that did they mean like where am I personally in Street Fighter 6?
As a character, like where's
Oh, as a character,
Alex?
yeah. Man, I gotta say, I don't know, but my fingers are crossed. Even if I did have intel, I can't tell anybody
Can't say
because,
anything.
like, under wraps. But I don't know. I think there's a good chance. So
Yeah.
so let's all I don't know, talk to the fighting gods and hope that our boy shows up. Yeah. And then
Okay.
as far as Mugen Train, man, that movie, was intense. I was super nervous about it. I'll try to condense this story as much as I can. I was super nervous going in just because I didn't really get to talk to you about the whole, like, Rengoku. I really didn't know Rengoku was gonna blow up to have the impact that he did.
Mhm.
Um, and at Mugen Train, of course, we got the script in advance, which was super cool. And I had it well in advance. I could read through the whole thing. I was like more prepared than I usually am for certain sessions where you might get it a day or two before, or maybe you don't get it at all.
Mhm.
It really, again, all project dependent, but one of those things where for this one we got it, and I was like, "Sweet, this is gonna be awesome." So I was like fully ready to go, nervous as hell. Of course, you shout "tasty" enough times, and the nerves melt away, which is super nice. But that movie, it's so many things packed into that arc.
Mhm,
Um, I was in recording it here in my booth because it was during lockdown,
mhm.
and the fight scene, man, like half of my window over here, like this whole thing out there was like fogged up, just totally fogged up because like it gets intense, man. You're doing a fight scene like that, and you are putting your whole body into it, and like you could just wipe down the side, and it's just like all condensation. So it's a workout. Um, and then, like, I mean, so we're laughing through the script, we're fighting through the script and having some times we're, like, weeping by the end of it, like, that moment with his mom at the end, I definitely it was one of those things where I had to, like, kinda take a step back because it was being the observer as we get to see it in motion because 'cause we're watching the original Japanese, um, I'm getting to see that happen in real time as I'm recording it, and so I have to d you, you get that exercise of being like, "I'm not the viewer right now. I'm"
Yeah.
you detach yourself from being the audience, which is hard to do because, man, I enjoyed watching it as I was recording it. I was like, "Man, this is gonna be so freaking sick when it comes out. It's gonna be so good." Um, and then, yeah, just the way in which I've said this before too at cons and panels, but really, like, the thing that hits me the most about Demon Slayer is when I go to cons and see all of that reflected back by the fans,
Mhm.
who show up in cosplay, who show up like I know there's a lot of anime out there, but I haven't, a show like Demon Slayer, I see kids that are like 2 to 3 years old, and I see fans that are, like, 93 years old. I see the whole spectrum of people, like and yeah, it's like, I'll have grandmothers, grandfathers who are watching it with their tiny with their young kids, with their grandkids, like, entire families are watching it together as an anime, and I'm like, I know there's a lot of this was a question that came up where they're like, "Is this for kids?" And I'm like, I don't wanna step on anyone's parenting toes." But Demon Slayer, I'm like I try to explain it as, like, it's a family show with a lot of beheading. Um, but, like, man, the way they craft the story, the role models,
Yeah.
the morals and, like, the way they flesh out their characters, the journey that those characters go on, and I don't think it's just lip service. I find it to be very authentically done for the writing is very good.
Yeah.
And I think it comes across, and I think that's why it has that wide appeal, and
Mhm.
I didn't fully see that appeal until I got the very good fortune to go to conventions and see that, and that to me has been just intensely humbling to meet folks and see that reflected back, so yeah, Mugen Train, uh, has a lot of a lot of meaning to me. I could talk about it for a while, and I'm excited for the rest of the story. I've read the manga, so I'm ready. I'm just ready to go for the Infinity Castle now. So we'll see.
Nice, nice, nice. All right, and the final question,
All right.
sir. You're a podcaster. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
How has the podcast been going? Have you
Oh
had time
shoot.
to?
You know what? The thing about conventions is that it's actually taken away some of my time to focus on making the podcast.
Mhm.
One of the good thing, I'm very busy. Bad thing, I'm busy. And so a lot of that, Theater of Tomorrow, we took a little bit of a hiatus. We did another episode of Hunter, which is this character, Zach Tungsten,
Mhm.
which is freaking, I love this character so much. Go check out Hunter 2 if you get it. Hunter and Hunter 2.
Okay.
He's just a very loud, brash robot shock jock who kind of travels around the galaxy trying to identify whether cryptids are real.
Mhm.
Kelly does her horse noise in the second one. She's a very good horse. I swear it's unfiltered Kelly horse in there. Um, and yeah, so we did an episode of that, and then the hotel has been running very strong. Actually, We Hotel gained a lot of a great following over during the pandemic, actually, with our third season,
Mhm.
and it started to really take off. There's a lot of fan art that came out, and we're now in the final season of the hotel,
Okay.
wrapping that all up and bringing it to a conclusion. Um, so yeah, definitely, if you haven't had a chance to check that out, there's a lot of fun stuff. There's a lot of a robust art community that's centered around that. So I don't know. I'd like to find a way to bring that creation back to it.
Mhm.
A lot of it is that it's a labor of love, and a lot of time, like, we didn't really monetize any of it. We're just making it because we love making art.
Mhm.
Um, and so a lot of times whenever, jobs would call, I had to prioritize that um in that way personally as a creator.
Mhm.
Veronica has stuck with it a lot and is wrapping out the end of the hotel and doing all the heavy lifting on that. So kudos to her for bringing that together. But I don't know. I'm not sure what the future is. One little fun story to bring it all the way back around to marriage is that there is a song that is in the first episode that we recorded that I just kind of ad libbed. It's called Pale Blue Dot, and
Mhm.
my captain character just kind of sings it. He's just singing it. It's about a song about the pale blue dot, as it would be, with Sarah, who is voiced by Kelly.
Mhm.
Later on in the podcast, we during one of our Halloween seasons, we fleshed it out and made it into a full-fledged jazz number that my brother did the
Wow.
music for. We recorded, so Pale Blue Dot got recorded. Very, very cool time doing that. And then we played it for our first dance at our wedding. And
Wow.
Veronica and Lauren were there. Veronica did not know that we were going to use that as our first dance song, but we had a live jazz band there that were friends of Kelly's. Um, and they learned the song and performed it for our first dance. So
Wow.
yeah, the podcast has brought many, many good things into my life. I wouldn't be married if it wasn't for that podcast. So go out and start a podcast, get married.
All right, man. So with that being said, is there anything you want to leave the audience with before we go? Anything you'd like to plug, promote? Floor
Oh
is yours. I'll shut up.
gosh. Plug and promote. Geez, I don't know. You'd think that I should have stuff on the tip of my tongue to promote.
No NDAs. Like I
I
understand there are
know I that's the
NDAs.
thing. I can't really I can't really talk about the stuff I want to promote. Oh gosh. There's so many. The only thing I can think about right now, Mekel, are things that have freaking NDAs on them. Um, oh god, I don't know. I guess little fun factoids. I posted one of these on Instagram that I'm this. I did some commercials with Dramamine, and I'm a
Oh
llama.
wow.
The drama llama of Dramamine, of nausea. So yeah, go check out some of the Dramamine commercial campaigns with a llama. That's your boy there doing commercials instead of anime. And I got the good fortune of working with Cheez It recently as the
I
voice of the cheese
saw.
wheel in a couple of spots. So yeah, there's some
Nice.
good stuff on the horizon there, and hopefully some good stuff on the horizon with a couple of games I'm in, which I'll be sure to blast out about when I can, when that's all been revealed. But yeah, until then, just stay well, stay healthy, everybody. And hopefully I see y'all out in Hawaii sometime soon. I would love to come out there and visit you and visit everybody out there. So yeah.
And with that being said, people, that's the episode of the podcast. Again, thank you, Mark, so much for taking time out of your busy day. I know we went over. I apologize. I
No
should have
worries.
recorded when we first started, but it was good catching up because, like,
Yeah.
you know, I know a lot of people when it comes to like the podcast, they're like, "Oh, interviews, and you got to do this," and I'm like, I'm not doing an interview. I'm talking with a friend, like
Yeah.
someone I've known for all these years, and it's like it's like we were saying how the flow of time, our concept of time has been just so thrown off, and I'm like, wait, Has it been 5 years? Yeah, it has been 5 years. A
Flow
lot's
of time
happened
waits
in
for
that
no
time.
one. Yeah.
It
It's good to go
doesn't.
off on tangents too, right? And get that different perspective. I love a good, like, especially if you're into voice acting and gaming, I love a good podcast like that. But I also like seeing, like, when folks talk about their own experiences, seeing who they are as people. So
Yeah,
hopefully we got to just do a little bit of that, entertain folks for a little bit. So yeah.
yeah,
Thanks for
yeah.
having me on.
Yeah, man. And with that being said, people can catch this episode and every other on all major podcasting outlets. And for my guests, you will find their social media all in the description. So with that being said, we're signing out and hope to see you guys in the next. Peace out and who we hope.
Peace.
If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast or any of the other episodes that we've done so far, if you've enjoyed any of the conversations I've had with the guests that I've had on the show, or just general topics that you guys have thrown at me or that I've researched and we've just talked about on the show, then do me a solid. If you're listening on any of the major podcasting outlets, make sure you leave a comment, leave a rating or a review, because it greatly helps out the show. If you're watching the show on YouTube, which airs every single week, then make sure you sub to the channel, youtube.com/@Mekel Kasanova, or just youtube.com/Mekel Kasanova, or even do us an even bigger solid by liking the video and sharing it with someone you think would find some enjoyment out of it. And all that being said, I hope you guys continue to enjoy this podcast and the content we put out here, because hey, we do it with a passion and we do it for you. So with that being said, I catch you guys on the next one. Stay safe, be blessed, and I'll see you around. Peace.